This video will cover how to do direct quotes of a quote from in your paper. So you'll notice here at the top we have two quotes, and the question that I ask is one of these direct quotes is a line of dialogue and the other one isn't. So you could probably figure it out if you look at it, and you'll see that the second one uses the word we, so that's probably somebody talking to somebody else. However, if we look at the first one, that could be a line of dialogue as well. It could be somebody telling a story about something that they saw. So there's really no way to tell the difference between these two. And so we have to use a different strategy to punctuate something that's dialogue that we're using in our papers. So what you'll see here on this slide is I took the quote from the previous one, and I'm going to add George says in front of that because that's who spoke this line. Now, we might want to do said, or we might think that said would be appropriate, but if we're writing about literature, we always want to do it from the present tense. And that's because this is always happening in the book. If we pick it up tomorrow, it'll be happening then. If we pick it up a million years from now, it'll still be happening then. So we tell it in present tense as if this is always happening. So now we have to distinguish between something that is a quote of dialogue and a quote of description. So what we will do, if you look here, we're going to add single quotes inside the double quotes that we had before. And that will tell us that this is something that George actually says. Now the next thing that we have to add too is we have to have a page number because we have that. This quote happens to be on page 14 in my book. So what I'll do, if you look at the previous slide, if you remember, there was a period after the word chickens. But now we've added the number 14 for the page number, so we made our sentence longer. So we're going to add a period there at the end of that word, and then we are done. We have completed that. One last thing that I want to mention is sometimes you guys are used to maybe doing like Steinbeck says or whatever, and I want to say a couple things about that. Well, really, Steinbeck doesn't says it, George says it, so we have to make sure that we're correctly identifying who does the work here, because if we say Steinbeck says for everything, we're not going to be able to distinguish who the actual speaker is. The other thing is when we write about this, we're going to mention at the beginning who we're going to say in the Book of Mice and Men by John Steinbeck. So we'll have mentioned the author at the beginning, so anybody that reads this will know that we're talking about that book. So we don't need to actually put Steinbeck anywhere else in the paper, just at the beginning, as long as we establish that that's the book that we're working from.